Welcome everyone to today's edition of Think Bad, Do Good. Appreciate you tuning in. I'm Jonathan Reiber. I'm your host, Senior Director for Cybersecurity Strategy and Policy here at AttackIQ. And we have Adam Moore and Ken Towne on our Adversary Research team. Adam, why don't you say your title? Start with you.
Head of R&D for content.
And Ken?
I'm one of the Adversary Research Engineers on Adam's team, focused on threat actors.
Great. Thank you both for joining. Today, we are going to talk to you. We're gathering in the middle of the unfolding contingency in Ukraine, where Russia has invaded, as everyone knows by now. History is happening in front of us. And we at AttackIQ, the purpose of our company is to build assessments and adversary emulations to help security programs prepare for known threats. That's why we're here. That's what we've been doing since the founding of our company. So we are here to help organizations prepare for this contingency by testing their defenses to see how well they perform. So we have launched a new attack graph which emulates Russian hostile actors based in Russia and emulates their tactics and techniques against your security programs. That's one of the things we're going to talk about today, and really go into depth in what that means for your response and why and how that can help you get ahead of the potential threats that we face. So Ken and Adam are two of the smartest people in our company on these issues. So they're going to be the subject matter experts, and we're just going to guide you through the conversation a little bit. So Adam, I thought we'd start by looking at what we're seeing in terms of known threats and threat behaviors that are unfolding right now.
Yeah, sure. So, as Russia has been ramping up for this invasion, and combining kind of a full spectrum approach of hybrid warfare. There's of course been, just scoping to the last 6 weeks or so, beginning in mid-January, it was reported publicly called Whispergate, some Russian APT and destructive malware masquerading as ransomware. So that was on that was reported on is happening about January 13. And then fast forward to February, and continuing psychological operations, information operations from proxy actors such as the Belarusian APT UNC 1151 has also perpetrated some website defacements and other things like that. And then on February 23rd, a day before the invasion, hours before, and actually Russian APT threat actors deployed a hermetic wiper, destructive malware to hundreds of machines in Ukraine. And so that's, targeting is ongoing as well. And that's kind of the summary there.
That's right.
Yeah,
and
so
Russia has advanced cyberspace operational capabilities that we're anticipating them using against both Ukraine and U.S. and allied interests globally. And so you've just outlined some of the tactics and techniques and capabilities that they've been deploying. But keep going.
Yeah. So even during and after the physical invasion, the Belarusian APT UNC 1151 began a campaign called Asylum Ambuscade, being called that by Proofpoint, and basically using a compromised Ukrainian service member's email to target European officials involved in transportation, financial and budget allocation, administration, and population movement within Europe, seemingly with the goal of potentially disrupting Ukrainian refugees and population movements and supply transport movements, things like that. So the cyber dimension is definitely also still in full swing and continuing.
Great. Ken, I thought for folks tuning in for the first time that maybe haven't been thinking about adversary emulation and the importance of continuous automated security control validation, it might help to start with some readiness tips for what an organization that, given that we know that threats are going to be that are occurring right now and going to be expanding against global interests. What are some tips that you would recommend folks take to get ready today?
Yeah, so in my eyes, it's really all about understanding what defense in depth really means, and understanding that when an attacker sets their sights on you, you have multiple opportunities to catch their behavior before they reach their final goal. And yes, it's not always great if they make it to the installation phase and get some command and control in, but if you can stop them from getting what they really want, that's a success. And so testing your controls across the entire kill chain is what's most valuable.
That's very helpful. Great. Now we've recently launched an attack graph, and so there's been some recent content completed. Adam, can you explain to us a little bit about what we've done and what we're doing already, and how that helps from a readiness testing standpoint?
Yeah, sure. So in January and in February, US CERT put out a couple of alerts and advisories that outlined some, like, I think it was about 16 to 18 total top TTPs of Russian threat actors. And so we created an attack graph to emulate a realistic attack, a realistic adversary behavior throughout, kind of a subset of those TTPs. And that's been released. So, we released a blog with it as well, and it mentions a couple of additional scenarios and steps you could add to the attack if you want to in your environment, and that'll give you things like dumping domain controller, things like that. So those are a little bit more high friction. So you can add those on your own, but we've basically, if you if you run an attack graph like this in your environment and continuously tune for additional preventions and detections, you can get in a better and better place. And another bit of content that we released was basically some malware download and save scenarios, so you can test and validate your antivirus or next gen antivirus against 9 different pieces of hermetic wiper malware related samples. So we've also got a lot more in progress, but that's what we've got released so far.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, so the goal here, we know what is happening. We know the kinds of tactics and techniques that hostile actors are going to deploy against organizations around the world. And we want you to prepare and test your defenses. The CISA has said, shields up. They've said this is the name of their campaign, shields up. What we're trying to say is you want to test that your shields are going to work. You need to validate that your security controls are going to perform as intended. So, Ken, I'd like to pivot over to you to showcase the new attack graph that you and Adam and the team and Gio Lopez have developed to actually do just that against this advanced adversary.
That sounds good. Let me go ahead and share my screen. So, the US CERT released 2 reports, one in January, one in February, focusing on generalized Russian behaviors seen against US defense contractors and the critical infrastructure. So our attack graph is picking up in the middle of their reporting. We're moving beyond the initial access phase where they're going to go ahead and find a way to get into your network. They have multiple vulnerabilities that they can use to get in. And so we focus on what are they going to do once they do get in. And the way the attack graph works is it's set up in different stages that can be emulated, and using logic to decide if a security control has prevented or not prevented, I can take alternative actions. So in the case with our graph, if I'm able to dump passwords successfully, then I can attempt to try to move laterally and gain access to additional systems. If I can't, then I have to pivot and try something else. And that's where they're going to do something with learning more about your Active Directory. And so in the case of the attack graph, when you do emulate it and kick it off, it's going to tell you each step, have you prevented or was it successful, and then provide those details. Not every step should you be expected to have a prevention or a detection, but we want to emulate those behaviors so that when you do go back, you can try to find those initial signs that said an actor was here. Most of the time when you do find an alert, it's not going to be, at that first attempt. It's going to be when they've done something big and noisy, but you want that log and data there to go backwards and find it. So we do provide like the indicators of the behavior that we emulated so you can find it on your system. And then for things that we do prevent, such in this case, using Bloodhound to find secret domain trust relationships in Active Directory, will tell you what was going on and maybe why it didn't find it. So in this case, the binary for sharphound was tried to be written and had gotten eaten by one of the EDR solutions on that host.
Great. That's immensely helpful. Ken, I just want to flag a point that you made the other day when we were talking, which is about an advanced adversary, as we saw, particularly in the SolarWinds intrusion. And the Russian government used a a supply chain enabled attack to inject code using what was presumed to be a normal behavior. The Russian government, if they want to get into your system, can do it. And you made a point the other day that I'd like you to just say again about like why and how this is still such an important capability if you're trying to validate your defense effectiveness.
Sure. So, as you mentioned, Russian actors are well financed. They're very smart. They're tricky, doing the whole solar winds and supply chain compromises, going after suppliers. They have millions of avenues to find a way in. And what's important for us is to remember that the old adage of, you have to be successful 100% of the time to be secure. They only have to be successful once to get in, also works in reverse, and that we only need to pick up one hint of their behavior, whether it's at the beginning of the kill chain, in the middle of the kill chain, and hopefully not at the very end of the kill chain. But at some point along that phase, if you can find them, that's faster to you being able to get out and get them. And being able to run a graph like this and run it repeatedly will help you ensure that the security controls that you thought you had in place are actually in place. Signatures change, your tooling changes. That stuff has impact on what your security posture really is. Running this will show you what it actually is.
That's great. Ken, thank you very much for showing us the attack graph. And again, Adam and Ken, thank you for producing it as quickly as you did and accelerating it for the contingency that we find ourselves in. Adam, one of the things about a moment like this is the Russians have invaded Ukraine, and obviously the world's attention is on how this conflict is going to unfold and hopefully resolve itself. One of the things that you've pointed out and that others have pointed out is adversaries are watching. It's not just that the world is watching what's happening there, but China and Iran and others, they're watching what's going on, and they're going to try and seek an advantage. So one of the things we want to do in this podcast over the next few weeks, as we address what's going on in Eastern Europe, is think about the broader implications. And I wonder if you might just give us a preview of the other things that you're building in the security optimization platform and other things you're thinking about as the conflict unfolds.
Yeah, sure. Definitely in the last couple of months, U.S. Cybercom and U.S. CERT have both been ringing the alarm bells about Iranian threat actors as well, and Muddy Water in particular. And so we also just released an attack graph emulating, an attack graph, or actually, I'm sorry, an assessment template for Muddy Water, and an attack graph actually for them as well, emulating their Operation Quicksand campaign about 18 months ago. So that's that's brand new material as well. It's unknown if it's just coincidental in time, or if they are sort of taking advantage opportunistically of this situation here. And they're China's also, I believe, ramping up offensive cyber operations and disinformation against Taiwan right now. So we've got we just want to make sure our customer base is protected.
Yep. Well, so we're going to keep watching what's going on, and Adam and his team are continuing to build and release content to help organizations get ahead of potential cyber risk given the unfolding contingency, which again, we all want to resolve as quickly as possible, and for the Ukrainian people to be safe and secure and free of this invasion. So again, Adam, thank you. And Ken, thank you. Thank you for joining. Look forward to hearing more of your thoughts. For everyone who's tuning in, we'll be creating more content, not just through this podcast, but also on blogs to keep our customers and everyone else apprised of what's going on as we see it. Thank you so much for tuning in, and look forward to talking again soon.